Hey, this is Brandy from Sustainable Initiatives, and we are starting a series where we interview or talk to. I don't know if it's an interview, if it's a conversation that we're having with business owners and people who help you to sustain your company. We are going to be chatting with Christine A. Dixon from Dixon Turnbull. Dixon Turnbull is a attorney's firm who specializes in helping business owners, small business owners in particular, make sure that everything is set up and functioning properly as a company. Now, the story that we're gonna chat with Christine about today is, I always think about how when we think attorneys, like we always think about attorneys as being like everything is, easy, great, it's simple to kind of live that life. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are aspects of that life that are really cool, but we want to show the real side of that. And I'm trying to bring her in and, supportive in the technology standpoint, but we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna get Christine on with us. I think I just heard her pop in. Christine,
Hello.
hey, how are you? Cool. So before you jumped in, I was just sharing that how we wanted to kind of hear about you. We have been hearing a lot about this thing called quiet
Quite
quitting.
quitting. Mm.
and the conversation that we're gonna have today is your quiet quitting experience. But what is the one thing that keeps you coming back um every every week that keeps you coming back? We want to hear about your story, what got you into focusing on small businesses, and just really kind of what experiences like led you to start this firm.
Wow. So basically, just about every Friday, sometimes it begins on Thursday evenings,
Uh-huh.
I start thinking, why am I doing this? This is just too much, especially being a solo practitioner. You know, there are aspects of it, like, for example, as everybody will say, having to clock your own, clock in for yourself and not having to answer to anyone sometimes feels great. And there are days when and weeks when I'm really busy and I feel like I'm doing so much good for my clients that even on a Friday afternoon, I'll be like, okay, I can leave early. I can, run around and do some shopping. And I don't have to say to someone, can I? Those probably are the few times where you're like, okay, this is cool. But there are days when, and the majority of the days are really being concerned with your clients. And I get up, I have particular cases right now where the client is the first thing on my mind. Am I doing right by him? Should I be doing a little extra? What so it really is a difficult profession to take on, especially on your own, because you have no landing gear or platform built for you to fall gracefully and also protect your clients.
Mm-hmm.
So, that in of itself is, one of the struggles. But really how I got started, whoever knows that the thing that you're supposed to do really is the thing that you really don't want to do, because I've never actually seen myself with a firm. I've actually seen myself practicing as a judge, maybe as a diplomat, but I've never seen myself with my own firm. And it so happens that I went away and I did my master's. I came back and I was searching for what was my next. I started contracting at big firms, and yes, the hated doc review. Everybody, knows about that, and most of us, especially solo practitioners, at some point did this in the heyday of this before the pandemic. And it is a struggle because at the same time while doing that, I had one or two cases, and it was always a struggle keeping that going. And so happens a friend from uni reached out to me, and when I say uni, I'm talking about University College of London. I probably, refer to that as uni, as most Brits do. But a colleague of mine was in the class, and he reached out to me on Facebook, actually, to let me know we had a particular client who needed help in the US to defend a lawsuit. I started, interacting with him on, of course, the wonderful WhatsApp, and they wanted me to shop the case around, and I did that for probably a few weeks, and then I realized, what am I doing? I had a chat with a colleague who to this day remains a very close colleague of mine. He was working, he's now a partner in a huge a huge business law firm. Actually, it's not only immigration, he does immigration. Gerald, if he ever sees this, we're just talking, and he's like, what are you doing? You can handle this case. You have enough experience. At the time, I had at least 13 years of practicing. And he was like, what are you doing? Go on and handle this, and I did. I just took the leap, and that's really how it all worked out. I fell in love with the client, what they were doing. I identified with them, and I really saw what really was at heart in the case. And in that case, I really felt as though they did not have the strategic direction. They did not have proper general counsel before my friend, who would have given them proper advice when they formed that contract that was at issue. And a lot of people get into these contracts that we call, and it's, we in the legal industry will say, this was an unconscionable contract, in that it was so heavily skewed to one party and not the other. And if you don't have attorneys reviewing, and even CPAs who can sometimes guide you because they've done so many, and experienced CPAs sometimes can really be a guide for you when you look at monetary terms in the contracts and how they, what would happen if there is a breach. And I realized that these people got caught up in something they shouldn't have, and for not wanting to go into and breaching confidentiality, I'll just leave it there. And that's kind of really was the why behind the forming of the firm, and the why behind the fact that I silently will walk back into my office every Monday morning, even after tell myself on a Thursday, listen, or on a Friday afternoon, I can't anymore. On a Monday morning, I just find myself, in the office again, back at it, because I think about what would happen, especially to the clients that I do have, if they do not have effective counsel. Mm-hmm. And it's really very hard for Black, brown individuals to get looked at the same way in big law, and the same way when they go to contract, especially if they do not understand or they're not as savvy. We have certain high net worth individuals now that are getting very savvy in the review of contracts. They know what they need to be doing, but there are still a great number of smaller businesses making quite a bit of money, but they are at a loss when it comes to signing their name to a contract and knowing what they're supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. And that really was my experience, and really my why, mm-hmm. getting out there.
Cool.
So
got it.
I hope that gives you some context.
Yeah, it definitely does. And even with the experience you said you had been doing 13 years before, your, I guess one of the people that you work with said, listen, you can handle this and go out on your own. You ended up taking the leap. One of the things that people often are concerned about when taking the leap is like, oh, what is this journey going to look like? Because you take the leap, you fall, and there's ebbs and there's flows. And so I know a lot of times when we talk about entrepreneurship and businesses, we like to focus on the highlight reel, as I say. But I feel like the lessons come from us examining, say, the pitfalls and the setbacks. So is there like a pitfall or a setback that you experienced that kind of has helped you get where you are today?
God, many. Just like my small business clients, many. I thank God that I never experienced, as some attorneys, some really bad pitfalls as it comes to the actual practice. But my general life is something that I'm still struggling with. We have the same concerns, lack of financial resources, lack of other kinds of resources, such as mentorship, such as people teaching me the business of law. I mean, I knew what it was like to jump in and start to practice, but, did I know what it was like to have QuickBooks? My accountant jumped in and started with that, but to this day we're still at it. There's still things that you have to learn. I had experience practicing prior to going on my journey to do my LLM with the federal government. So technically I knew what it was like to take a case from start to end, and to actually try a matter or bring a matter in front of an administrative judge, or go to court with the U.S. attorney. But that's not all there is when you're actually in your own firm. Who is doing your billing? Who is doing your time? Who is collecting for you? One of the major pitfalls I had was I am still the head worker and the chief collector. I mean, and it's hard to do that with people who you've grown close to. You're working on their matter, and then you're turning around at the end of the month saying, can you pay me? Why don't you want to pay me? And it's even if you have a retainer, you still go through those things. At larger firms, those attorneys are insulated most of the times. They have business people inside the firm. They have their paralegals maybe, but most times they actually have a financial person that's doing collecting, and never the twain meets unless they're told to stop doing work on a client's matter. They just continue to work, and somebody's taking care of the billable hours that they've put in. They're collecting that on the back end. So I think that some of the pitfalls that I had and setbacks is something that really something they didn't teach in school, how to market a firm. I opened my firm, I got nice space, I was down at the Legg Mason building overseeing water. I thought since I was good, cases would come through the door. I really wasn't doing any marketing. I was just working, because that's me. I'm still to this day a worker bee. I just want to get the case and work it to death. I'm not concerned about all the others and the other stuff that really it takes. And I'm now getting resources that can help me, and a small little team that's helped working with me, but it's still a daily struggle.
Yeah, and that's a great point that you make, because I think a lot of times people, when they start their businesses, they start their business because there's something that they do well, and they think that thing that they do well, like that's the business. But if you don't have those wraparound support, when you kind of go into to start your business, you're gonna end up like we were sharing, but when we were prepping, like wearing like all the hats, right? Like you go in, you thought you were baking cupcakes, but you end up becoming the janitor, you end up becoming a technician, the IT, you become accounting, you become accounts receivable.
And IT issues this morning.
Yeah, and so that's so considering, like, we know that, like we talked about, this journey it's ebbs and flows. So we just talked about a setback. What's a unique challenge that you were able to overcome?
Well, the one thing I think I'm not sure if I've overcome it yet, because I'm still, dealing with marketing, things as we go along and learning as time passes, different marketing techniques from the mentors and the team that I have. But one of the challenges I had was, I mean, literally, I went to form a firm in a day, and I gave the firm my name, C. Dixon Global Law, PLLC, because in DC they require professionals to have PLLC instead of LLC when they're doing a limited liability company. And so technically I went off, I formed my firm with a firm name, and I thought I was good. I got GoDaddy, I think it was, and they built me a site, and I was paying into that, and I was doing a few things, and I was golden. But really, after a few years, I had people saying to me, and actually had an associate who actually was very frank. He said, I'm having a bit of a problem sending referrals your way because no one wants to go to a solo female attorney because they feel as though maybe, I don't know, maybe there was more to that I couldn't handle their matter. He said to me, the name is just not strong enough. And so, recently did a reel or a video on It's All in a Name. And I actually didn't even think about that until we are talking today, how closely related I was to that situation when I did that video. Because literally I had stopped, I think 5 years in, and I realized now I was, I did a few radio shows I was doing, but the stuff wasn't coming through the door. So it was likely that his statement was right. And I started to talk to friends and other colleagues, and they quickly agreed. One thing about your friends, they'll sit back and observe, but when they're seeing you really working hard at something, sometimes they will kind of wait until you approach them, and then they'll say yes because they don't really want to interfere with the groove. And the whole decision I made then after 5 years was to rebrand. And I literally had to start from scratch with that. And just like any other client, consider, marketing. What does the name tell people? Do they think this is someone that they can turn to? Does it exude strength? Is it powerful? And I decided to use my name. And that's a whole other story for a different day. But Dixon Turnbull is actually my name. Both, although I am Christine A. Dixon, both names are my name. So, and I decided on that, and I, went ahead and I got logos made. I found a top designer in France who really did a job of that logo. I mean, it is just, I still see that. The other day I ordered some wine with the name, and I saw that logo come, and I was like, oh, it's still, and that's really how you're supposed to feel about, I think, the name of your business. I met a wonderful website designer through a business mentor, and can I say, Brandy?
You can say Sustainable Initiative.
Yes, sustain it. And who actually interviewed me, talked to me. We grew close, we fought, whatever we did, until the website was birthed the way that I like it. I still think it was kind of funny because the same person who told me that they were having issues marketing, I remember when the website was done, he was so pleased. And one of the things he said to me, which is like what I just said about my name, your website is supposed to make you create that business, that feeling inside you that you want to be on it daily. And it's so funny, like I go on there if I have something to do and I see it and I still go, so, and I mean, so one of the things is, it goes back again to the why, coming back to what was it that brought me centrally here, and determining whether I could really sustain a business, and for want of a better word, and whether I would, all these little things, these little setbacks, and they play a part in it, and now learning that the setback comes does not mean that I pack up and run away, which is why, as I said, I silently creep back in here. I think it's actually part of habit too. But it really, the first couple of times it made me assume the fetal position in the bed, but now it's just okay. And maybe my faith has just increased over years, and I just think to myself, God will have this, if this is meant to be, he'll take care of this. And I just gradually just approach every one of those things that way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Great. And I think this is a good place to kind of wrap our conversation. And sharing always brings up lessons. Like even you talked about how you recently did a reel about the name, and through sharing your story, you realize like, wow, that even though I created this content for others, I'm actually super connected to it myself. So just in general, could you just end with lessons that you learned so far? And if you guys don't know, this is actually next month, the Dixon Turnbull will be 10 years in existence. So it's a whole decade of, sticking with the business grind or ride, however we want to express it. So just what are some lessons learned from this journey that you've taken on?
Well, I think one of them is resilience. Um, Another one is just strengthening my faith, but I think overall it's resilience. It's knowing that I had to become a CEO. I had to become an owner and not just a practitioner. So I actually had to learn to get in the business and learn the business itself. This year, I met last year a wonderful attorney, trademark Takora Davis. I will bring her out all the time, and she's been teaching me the parts that I miss. The business aspect of running a firm. What is it like to only talk to qualified leads? What is it like to really go hard on your marketing, and that you can still do both? And I think that that's something that I'm working on daily. I had to want to get in. I have the tendency to want to just do work, and really I have to separate that and realize that I actually have to become an owner. And the same way I advise my small business clients, and it's things that also that I'm learning from them. I do counsel a lot of business owners, one in particular, and I see the things that I'm pulling from her. She is first a business person, but in essence, that's really not the work that she's doing. She's a social worker and she's excellent at that, but she reads numbers well. She designs programs, and literally watching that aspect and realizing that, in order for the business to continue, I have to do that. The other thing is really just learning to still be me. I have had all these experiences that I have had I've shared with clients, and I realized that the more engaged my clients are with me, they are more loyal because they understand that I have gone through all the same struggles. So when they call me with a problem, they know that I can relate, and they know that I see them. So they know that technically, even if I'm busy, I'm always thinking about what is best for their matter. It may mean sometimes I have to turn to another attorney because I don't know it all. It may mean sometimes I have to give them 110% for a particular month, but they know that they can trust in that. And I think that has probably been one of the reasons why I'm still here at 10 years. So it's a few lessons, but I think overall the word is resilience.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a great place to land. I want to say that if you are on the journey of a small business owner, entrepreneurship, wherever you are, resilience is the thing that is going to keep you it's just going to keep you going, because like we said, there's ebbs and flows in this experience, and if you don't have a system to pretty much get you back up, it's going to be really challenging to sustain it all. So thank you,
And thank
Christine, for coming
you.
on today, sharing your story. Guys, this is part of a series, so Christine will be back with us tomorrow to peel back another layer of the onion, to help you to figure out just the benefits of having an attorney on your business team, and just different tips on business and entrepreneurship. So until next time, everybody, take care.
Thank you.